Mr. Speaker, I rise in opposition to 985, H.R. 985, a monster of a bill combining the Anti-Consumer Fairness and Class Action Litigation Act and the Anti-Victim Furthering Asbestos Claim Transparency Act. H.R. 985 has the same goals and objectives as the bill just slithered out of this body just a few moments ago, the so-called Innocent Party Protection Act, which more appropriately should be called the Corporate Wrongdoer Protection Act. H.R. 985 is part of a wave of anti-consumer corporate wrongdoer protection bills being considered this week by this Republican-controlled Congress. The purpose of these bills is to protect and insulate big corporations from being held accountable when they rob, hurt, and maim everyday Americans struggling to make it here in America. As a former and long-term member of the House Armed Services Committee, I'd like to first remind this body of Susan Vento and Judy Van Ness, brave widows who joined us during the Judiciary Committee markup of the FACT Act and shared with us the heartbreak asbestos exposure has caused their families. Susan is the widow of our late colleague, Congressman Bruce Vento. Judy's husband, Richard, was a Navy veteran who served this country with distinction. Both men saw their lives tragically cut short, Bruce at 60 and Richard at 62, both by mesothelioma. Georgia is ranked 23rd in the nation for mesothelioma and asbestos-caused deaths, in part due to the large number of military operations, facilities, and military-industrial complex projects throughout the state. Virtually every ship commissioned by the U.S. Navy between World War II and the Korean War contained several tons of asbestos in the engine room insulation, fireproof doors, and miles of pipes. While the military discontinued asbestos products around 1980, hundreds of military and civilian installations were left with asbestos flooring and ceiling tiles, cement foundations, as well as in thousands of military vehicles. After defending our freedom abroad, many veterans returned to the civilian workforce where they were further exposed to asbestos. People such as Richard Van Ness, who suffered asbestos exposure while on a Navy destroyer and doing his career as a union pipe fitter. Unfortunately, veterans like Richard comprise over 30% of all asbestos-caused mesothelioma deaths, despite making up only 8% of the nation's population. 18 veterans groups, including the Military Order of the Purple Heart. I'd ask for an additional 1 minute.
I'm afraid we're out of time, Mr. Johnson.
Gentleman's time has expired.
30 seconds.
Okay, well, I guess we can do 30 seconds. We'll yield 30 seconds.
All right, thank you. Including the Military Order Purple Hearts, AMVETS, and the Vietnam Veterans of America. These organizations have expressed their strong opposition to this bill, and I would ask my colleagues to join me and the distinguished members of those 18 veterans organizations and oppose this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and with that, I yield back.